Alright, as we continue with the epic campaign breakout saga, I'll show you here how to set up the keywords for each ad group and each campaign in the proper way. So we like to have all of our keywords on broad, phrase, and exact match. Just a quick rundown of what each of those is. You can see in the Tech Bible in this same section a link to Google's page about that explains in depth the differences. But basically, broad will show you for anything that is synonymous to the keywords. So look in here, what causes fungus? You might also show, so when we're trying to trigger your ads for different search terms that people search, because obviously people don't always search exactly our keywords. When a keyword is on broad match, Google will show you for anything that it determines as synonymous, or that they think that the searcher in Google might still find your ad relevant to. And as we've spoken about before in the negatives call video, they can get pretty imaginative for it. So what causes fungus? You might also show for what causes fungi, what leads to fungi, who causes fungus, anything like that. And it can get farther and farther away from that as you allow Google to get more and more out there. They'll take as much as you give them. So that's broad match. Phrase match is, and you can see here, this is how you change a particular keyword. You just click on this type bar. Phrase match is the search term has to have exactly what causes fungus in it. So if the search was, I am interested in what causes fungus, then you would trigger phrase match. Or what causes fungus to appear on trees, you would trigger the keyword for that as well. So that's phrase match. And exact match is, they have to type in exactly what causes fungus. So Google will show you on phrase exact match for slight misspells. So like what, or capitalization. So if one of these is capitalized, you'd still show for phrase and exact. And sometimes, if you searched, actually, I don't think they do that anymore. So it has to be pretty much that. But maybe slight spelling changes, they'll also show you for on phrase and exact. Okay, so we like them on all three, and here's why. Broad match allows us to see a lot of what we call long tail keywords, the keywords that you could never in your million years, or search terms that you could never in a million years think up all of the keywords for. So people who are looking for help with their foot fungus might search what is the cause of fungus of the feet. And we don't need to sit here all day and think up a million different keywords that someone with foot fungus problems might search. So we can just put it on broad. So that's one of the benefits of broad. But we also like to use phrase and exact and we also like to bid more for phrase and exact because we can safely assume that people searching these keywords exactly are going to be more interested, and we would like to show more often for people who are searching these keywords more exactly. And that's not always true. Sometimes we'll find that keywords on phrase or exact match convert worse than keywords on broad match, but most of the time it's true. So broad match kind of is the ground floor, the lowest we bid for. Phrase is in the middle, and exact is the most. Okay, so when we take over a client's account, and when you break them apart using the keyword grouper that we did in the last video, unless they're in the original ad group, which was text ad, which no longer has any keywords in it, except for what is fungal, unless they're in that one, they don't come over with their proper bids, or with the bids. So you can go back and look at what he was bidding on it. So you can see here, this is a new campaign that the guy, like I said before, just created before we signed him up. He had a max cost per click bid of 0.01, so he didn't know what he wanted to bid really. But if the client has has a max cost per click already, you want to bring that same one over, because when we first take over an account, we don't want to change too many things up. We want to make gradual changes, because although our assumptions are usually right, this is called the 80-20 rule. 80% of the time, kind of our Google best practices stuff will work, but 20% of the time, it won't work, and they'll do worse with those changes. So we don't want to just assume all the changes we're going to make. I don't just want to guess what the cost per clicks should be for laser removal or nail growth. I really have no idea what level of spend or cost per click they should be at for them to be most profitable, which again is what we're trying to do, is make our clients the most money so that they pay us more. In this particular case, when you don't know what the old bids were, or in a couple of other cases, if you're building a new campaign for a client that wants it to start all over or who has never advertised online before, or if you look at some of the keywords that they had before and you think, well, that should probably be getting some clicks, but it's not. So say what causes fungus, which sounds like something that people would search all the time in Google, or at least often enough that it should get some impressions. If that should be if that never triggers anything, then the bid's probably too low. What we do to find out what we should be bidding is we go to the internet and we go to keywordspy.com up here. So this is a cool site. If you have some time, you should click around here. You can search by domain, so you can kind of see what keywords and what ads people are running. You can see how much keyword, you can click here and find out all sorts of information about different keywords. But the way you'll be using this now is we're going to search what causes fungus. So the average cost per click according to Keyword Spy, which isn't always completely accurate, but it's close enough sometimes, is 80 cents. So that seems like a fine place to start. Actually, usually that's not true. Let me take that back. You want to be a little higher than this. So I'd probably start at like $1 for broad match, a little bit more, so 10% more for phrase match, and 10% more than phrase match for exact match. So we'd go $1, $10, $20 for the cost per clicks. So I'm just going to assume that everything else in that ad group, which is usually fine to do. Maybe we should look this one up, see what that is. Onychimosis, maybe that's something I've never heard of before, but people search all the time. So let's see what that is. And that is a 27-cent cost per click. So that'll be fine at 80 cents. We'll be in the first position. That's fine. I'm sure people don't search for that very often. So you can edit all of these bids at the same time. If you've highlighted all of them, you'll see here the keyword varies, the destination URL. So when you're creating keywords, just keep them on the default. You can set a specific destination URL for a different keyword, like say we want onychomycosis to go to onychomycosis page. We could do that here, but you're probably just better off creating a new ad group for it. So we've decided we want broad to be on $1. So we're on $1. And then you can copy, or just hit the Control-C button, which is what I'm going to do from now on. And then paste, Control-V, phrase, $1.10. And then just do it again. And now put it on exact at $1.20. Okay, so you're getting to having created a whole new ad group here. One thing you will have to do that I'll mention now is these red error buttons let you know that something's not right, that you need to fix something. So your ad group default maximum bid is too low. Please raise your value greater than 0. That's down here. So we've just decided $1 there. So the fastest way to change all these for all these is just do $1. Now let's do lower than that. You should go a lot lower for this. So let's just choose 0.7. That's the least we're willing to bid at this juncture. In the future, we might want to change that, but that's what it is for now. different ways to change keywords around. I'll just go through them right now. So say we wanted to append all this text with stuff. You can go to append text down here, add sale at the end. You can do after or before. Make sure you include this space here, otherwise it's just going to put it at the attach it to the end of this word, which we don't want. So now all these say sale. You can also edit revert stuff to undo a change that you made. Okay. Edit revert isn't perfect. It doesn't work for everything, but it does work for a lot of stuff. So it's a good tool. Oh, look, see, it didn't work perfectly there because it got rid of all my keywords on broad. So that was a perfect example of it. It doesn't really like stuff that you've just created. So see how this stuff is bolded. This is just created keywords or something that has just been changed. It doesn't like dealing with stuff that has just been created. So that was the problem there. But if that happens, you can just undo it real quick there. Boom. You can also replace text. So say you were building a whole new keyword and you wanted to do it for what causes a different foot remedy. What causes cankles or something? What causes cankles? So what causes cankles under fingernails? We can just replace all this stuff. Replace, we're creating a cankles ad group instead of a fungus ad group. Obviously, you're going to have to change the keywords around, but if it was, let's just pretend it was a perfect fit. Find fungus, replace with cankles. You can preserve capitalization. Boom. So now, what causes skin cankles? What causes cankles on skin? Those have all replaced fungus, and we're going to set up that can save you a lot of time when you're creating new ad groups. By using this replace text tool down here. You can also change all the bids together. So say they're bidding something that's not easy, like $1. Say they're bidding like $1.68, and you want to decrease and increase bids for everything. You can go here, increase bids by 10%. So you'll see here everything got increased by 10%. The max cost per click. You can decrease. I don't really use that other stuff, but feel free to get familiar with it if you want. One last thing I will mention is if this client did have their keywords on just broad match or just exact match, and they did have bids for their keywords already, unlike this guy who was bidding 1 cent for everything. Say we took over this account and all these keywords, they were all on broad match, and these 7 keywords right here, he was bidding $1 for all of them. We want to bid less than they have been, or excuse me, yeah, if they're all in broad match, we want to bid a little less than they have been, because this will keep us from changing around when we add phrase and exact how much they're bidding for each keyword, or excuse me, for each ad group, and not rearrange the spend of their account too much. If we decrease broad match by like 5%, so if it was at $1, I'm just going to change this to $1. We can use the keyword tool to decrease bids by 5%. And then I'm going to delete these and pretend we're doing this other way. So then we would want to then just kind of do the same increase by 10% for each as we change to phrase and exact. Increase bids by 10%. And copy paste it again. Increase bids by 10% again. And now we've taken some steps to kind of save ourselves or stop ourselves from changing things around too much. This is assuming they already had one of the 3 match types in there. So if they were already in phrase match, then just decrease everything by 10% if they're already in exact match, or for broad, and then increase everything by 10% for exact. And if they're already in exact match when we take over the account, just decrease by 10 and then decrease again 10 by again for phrase and broad respectively. That should do it. Boom.